Both PSG and Manchester United put in bids for Atalanta striker Rasmus Hojlund. But where is the youngster likely to go this summer? Elsewhere, Liverpool are going to be backing for Romeo Lavia. A second bid has already been or is expected to go in imminently as a deal edges ever closer for the 19-year-old midfielder. Also, we're going to be talking about Harry Kane, that situation, because I've not actually talked about that in recent days. And obviously there's been a few things that have happened there. There are some other smaller stories that are buzzing around in terms of Robert Lewandowski allegedly appealing towards Saudi Arabia, maybe the next target for a Saudi Arabian team to try and bring over to Saudi Arabia this summer. Marco Verratti is also another one that a Saudi Arabian team are very much interested in taking from PSG. And we're also going to be talking about the Jordan Henderson and Fabinho situation. Henderson seems done and dusted. Fabinho, that seems to have picked up some speed again going forward. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. We're going to be talking about a lot today, and it's all, of course, another all-new news video. Taking a few days off, but we're back with an all-new news video talking some of the biggest and best headlines from the world of football right now. Lots to get into, and I hope that you guys will enjoy it, and I hope you guys will also pitch in with your thoughts, your comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, and of course, anything else that you guys want to talk about. If you want to throw in some talking points in the chat, go ahead and do that. Would love to hear from you all on this, so do get involved in the chat. Also, don't forget to hit the like button if you're enjoying the video. Subscribe if you are new or want to see more content like this. Both things will always and forever be greatly appreciated, as well as obviously your comments. Would love to hear from you all on this. So do get involved in that. But without further ado, let's get on with the video. Hey Ballum, how you doing? Nice to see you, bro. Always good to see you, my dude. Always good to see you coming along to these streams. So thank you very much for getting involved already, and nice to see you. Hope you are doing well, my dude. We're going to be starting off with this Rasmus Hojlund situation. Okay, if you want to talk about Jordan Henderson first, but we'll talk about Jordan Henderson first if you want. Seeing as you brought it up, that's cool with me. Not really much has happened in terms of Henderson in that we didn't already know. Henderson has seemingly left Liverpool and has gone to join Steven Gerrard at Al Ettifaq on a permanent basis. And for that, we wish him the best of luck. There were videos going out yesterday of him training with his new team. There was also the goodbye video that he posted. I just find it a little bit weird that so far Liverpool have not said anything about it. Liverpool haven't come out and said anything about it, to my knowledge at least. Whether it's just because that this deal isn't necessarily all done and dusted and all tied up right now, I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, I did find it a bit strange that there is seemingly no word from Liverpool on this yet. That's my concern. Look, as far as what Henderson goes, absolute legend. Been at the club for 12 years, won everything there is to win at Liverpool, was club captain, led Liverpool to obviously some amazing times these past several years alone. And I, for one, wish him good luck in Saudi Arabia. Is it the ideal move for him? Probably not. But financial-wise, as a new challenge and a new culture-wise, it will be something different for him to go and explore and to go and experience. Is it ideal for him in terms of what he is alleged to have stood for as Liverpool captain, what he's done in terms of his work both on and off the pitch, in terms of obviously human rights and LGBT and all that stuff? Maybe not. And it does seem like maybe those kind of belief systems, unless he's going to try and be some sort of ambassador for them kind of groups out there in a country that obviously doesn't necessarily include people from that culture and from that belief from that group of people. I don't know, but it does seem to many people that maybe his beliefs and maybe his stances on certain wouldn't say beliefs, but on certain groups and certain cultures and certain lifestyles seems to have maybe a limit in terms of his financial gain. So there's a lot to digest and unpackage, and we've tried to do it as delicately and as best as possible. But of course, the bottom line is that Henderson has gone. It'll be interesting to see if Liverpool do put something out there very, very soon. I'm going to assume that it is just because it's not done and dusted yet. There is still official confirmation that needs to go through. So I'm assuming that is the case, and that's why Liverpool haven't put anything out yet. Either that, or they're very slow in making some sort of goodbye video and goodbye package to him, or something along them lines. But Henderson did put out a video yesterday saying goodbye to the fans. Was very moving. But yeah, the bottom line is that Henderson does seem to have gone, and Liverpool now have a bit of a void to fill. Lavia helps homegrown for Liverpool, and Nat Phillips could leave as well, etc. We'll get on to Lavia later on in the video. Fabinho is a Liverpool legend too. Seems Fabinho is leaving. We'll talk about Fabinho in a minute. The Saudi Arabia League are signing so many interesting players everywhere. It's going to be competitive. I won't be watching that league much. Yeah, it's going to be one of them leagues that will have interesting players, to say the least, but I don't think anybody's going to be paying too much attention. At least no one in England or maybe on this side of Europe. So don't think too many people are going to be paying attention. They'll cast their eye over it. It might just be a casual thing, but it's unlikely that we're going to be hearing of, wonder kids and players with high potential and a high ceiling that are going to be coming from that league. It's going to be players that we know. It's going to be players that are, for the most part, edging towards retirement. There are obviously going to be a few that are not. But yeah, like it could be interesting to see the development and the increased reputation of that league for sure. I think many Liverpool fans expect Captain Henderson is leaving, and is he around 33 now? I think. Yep, he's around 33. Ideal time maybe to move him on, but at the same time, I still think we should have maybe kept him for another year, considering the young players we're bringing in, considering the young players we're bringing through from the academy, considering that we lost James Milner as well and Bobby Firmino, two experienced players in that team already, two players that have a big influence in the dressing room and a big hold in terms of leadership. I still think we should have probably kept Henderson for another year, but that's just me. That's just me. And obviously his reduced playing time would have gone on forward. I think from here on out, Virgil van Dijk takes the captaincy. Van Dijk seems to be the obvious choice for captain. And then as vice captain goes, for me, it's between Trent Alexander-Arnold and Andy Robertson. Robertson, I think, may have a bit more credit, obviously being Scotland captain. So I think he may have a bit more credit to obviously go on and become that vice captain. But at the same time, having a local lad be your vice captain and maybe one day go on to become your full captain would obviously mean a lot more as well. So Trent being vice captain, I could definitely see a local lad, English talent, of course, coming through, similar to what Jordan Henderson was, where, I'd say like Trent is one of the best players of the team. I'd never say that Henderson was ever one of the best players in the team, but he was important and he was influential. of course, and giving him that captaincy, he grew into that role over time. And I think Trent could do something similar. Zaha leaving Crystal Palace in Southeast London. Interesting. Yes, it seems Jordan Henderson said goodbye. Yeah, I saw the goodbye video yesterday. Yeah, like I say, it was a very nicely worded piece, smartly worded piece. People are saying like he didn't mention Klopp at all. He didn't mention any of the players, but it wasn't about them. It was about saying goodbye to the fans. He'll, of course, have said goodbye to everyone behind the scenes. And, you know, maybe there will be some sort of follow-up for him to say goodbye again to everyone. And you saw the outpouring. If you read into the replies and the comments of his video, you'd see plenty of supporting messages from Liverpool players saying, my captain, goodbye, captain, good luck, captain, that kind of thing. So it wasn't about Klopp. It wasn't about the players. It was solely about Henderson saying goodbye to the fans, and it accomplished that goal. Kylian isn't going to Saudi Arabia, it seems, even though it is offered so much money, whichever for a season would be good for him. It would show how badly things have got between him and PSG if he wanted to leave for an entire year. To be fair, I was expecting him to go. Like, I made a video on it and I didn't realize fully at the time that it was only going to be like a 1-year deal. I was fully expecting him to go for money purposes. I didn't think he had the ambition to kind of maybe stick it out in a tougher league, in a much more experienced league. The French league, staying there for another year and then walking to Real Madrid afterwards might be the best thing for him if obviously Real Madrid aren't going to come calling this summer. But we'll wait and see. I don't think we've heard the last of this Kylian Mbappe situation. Do you think Liverpool have a mini style of Van Dijk captain, Robertson second captain, and Trent as third captain, similar to how Spanish teams do this? I think every team does that, to be honest. Every team has a bit of a hierarchy of captains and leaders that they choose. I think when you look at, even when you look at Liverpool, like we've always had Henderson as captain, Milner as vice captain. I think Van Dijk was third captain. I think Robertson was fourth captain. I think they even said like at one point that they had a bit of a vote to see who would be the fifth captain, and I think the players picked Trent. I think Firmino's been captain before, so I think he would have been next in line. I think all teams have a sort of hierarchy of captain, but just depending on obviously if there is a situation in which you need to go down that pecking order of leaders and captains. So I think everybody has it. And like I say, I think Van Dijk now moves into the captain role, which is, again, I think a bit of a smart move on Liverpool's part. It's then a toss-up, in my opinion, of Trent or Robertson. I can see why they give it Trent because he's English, he's homegrown, he's the hometown boy, that kind of thing. But Robertson has a bit more extra credit with obviously being Scotland captain, so he's been there and done it on numerous occasions, and has, of course, led his country. So it's a bit of a toss-up, in my opinion. I can see it happening both ways. We'll obviously have to wait and see what obviously goes on with that captaincy situation. So it will be very interesting to see. But yeah, Henderson seems to have gone, done and dusted. As I say this, I think Trent's put out something that is basically a farewell piece, just basically thanking him. So of course there's that as well to consider, the impact he's had on the players, managers, staff, past and present, of course. Moving on, we're going to touch upon Fabinho. Apparently that move is now moving along again. It did seem to stall. There were talks about Fabinho's dog not being legal in Saudi Arabia, and there was also talk about how certain payment issues were holding up this deal as well. This seems to now be moving forward. It seems to be edging closer. Romano's put out something yesterday that basically said things are moving along again, and we expect Fabinho maybe to become the latest in a long line of players to join a Saudi Arabian team this summer. So that seems to be moving along. And of course, in retaliation, it does seem that Liverpool will be pursuing Romeo Lavia going forward. Made a video on Lavia a couple of days ago, basically stating the situation and how Southampton have rejected an opening bid for the 19-year-old midfielder. I'll say it again. I expect this fully to go through. I expect Liverpool to get this deal done and dusted one way or another. A second deal has either gone through or been put forward by Liverpool, or is about to be put through by Liverpool, somewhere in the region of 45 million, which is what is being quoted. Whether that's a full amount plus add-ons, or whether that is the full amount including add-ons, not 100% sure. But yeah, I fully expect this deal to get through. And the overall consensus is that this deal will edge ever closer and eventually get through. So we'll wait and see on that one if that is to be the case. David Ornstein put out yesterday saying Liverpool set to return with improved offer for Romeo Lavia. Southampton rejected £37 million opening bid, but as they seek £50 million package. High chance this deal gets done, although Chelsea retain firm interest. So Liverpool need to get a move on in this, because if Chelsea spring into life, I'm not saying that Chelsea will hijack the deal. I'm not saying it's definitely certain that Chelsea will hijack the deal. But in terms of maybe a money aspect, obviously, Chelsea maybe could offer Lavia a better financial package for him personally, which could throw a bit of a spanner in the works for Liverpool, especially because everybody now knows that, well, everyone knew at the beginning of the transfer window that Liverpool were looking to beef up their midfield. When you add in the factors of both Henderson and Fabinho leaving the club, it seems that obviously Liverpool are wanting midfielders even more. Lavia fits the bill because he's a defensive midfielder, a different type of midfielder to the ones that Liverpool already seemingly have. Obviously, that could throw a bit of a spanner in the works for the Reds. And obviously, that was from James Pearce, as put through by David Ornstein yesterday. So we'll wait and see if obviously that deal does go ahead. I'd expect it to fully go ahead. I expect Liverpool and Southampton to reach an agreement. I said on Tuesday that I think 45 million, somewhere in that region, will be enough maybe to see Southampton's stance on Lavia at 50 million be tested a little bit. So I'd fully expect that deal to get done here. And then it's all about getting everything else done, tying up the loose ends, and then, of course, awaiting a medical to obviously go through. Many Liverpool fans expect Fabinho is leaving. I'll be back soon. What do you make? It seems about 10 teams in Saudi Arabia all building European players in their squads. Is interesting to see. Well, it's like they're playing Ultimate Team, isn't it? It's like these Saudi Arabian teams are playing Ultimate Team of years gone by and are building some sort of European super squad of years gone by. We're waiting to see, obviously, how it affects their league. Does the quality improve? Does the reputation build? That kind of thing. And of course, there's no point talking about ambition, because their ambition is only going to continue to drive them forward. They're not slowing down anytime soon. They're not showing any signs that they're going to stop. They're going to continue. This is going to be an influence that is only going to continue to be produced year after year, in my opinion, until either the Saudi government steps in, or maybe some sort of, or maybe FIFA or UEFA, something, step in and say, look, you can't be trading with these guys. It's too weird. It's too whatever. But that's very, very unlikely to happen. So we'll wait and see how this Saudi influence grows. But yeah, interesting stuff. Next up, we're going to be talking about Rasmus Hojlund, the main overall, the main bulk of this video. Rasmus Hojlund. Now, we talked about him a fair few times across this transfer window already, linking him with a move to Manchester United. That is obviously what has come about of Hojlund this summer, is that he's been strongly linked with a move to Manchester United, and that does seem to be edging ever closer. We originally it was like set that United were convinced that they could get him for 40 to 50 million. That has seemingly gone up a little bit as negotiations continue. Atalanta seemingly wanted 80 million, but obviously in recent days, if you've been following this story, you'll know that maybe their stance has been slipping a little bit to obviously bring that price tag down a bit. Personal terms are seemingly agreed between Manchester United and Hojlund, as you would expect for a player of where he currently is, of his current stature and everything. You would expect United to obviously be able to accept the demands or put the demands on the table that Hojlund would accept. Obviously, having the pull of being Manchester United as well, with all due respect, a bigger club than Atalanta helps as well in these kinds of situations. So everything does seem to be going along for a Manchester United move. However, David Ornstein says today that PSG have now entered the race and have put forward a bid themselves. He goes on to state that PSG make offer to Atalanta for Rasmus Hojlund, bid for 20-year-old worth 50 million euros. PSG think Atalanta valuation unrealistic and ready to walk away if bid not accepted. Positive talks on personal terms. Man United pursuit ongoing, as reported by The Athletic. A few things to unpack here, but I'll just go on to say that what Ornstein posted yesterday in regards to Manchester United. He said that Man United make verbal offer to Atalanta for Rasmus Hojlund, 50 million euros plus 10 million euros add-ons. Atalanta wants 70 million euros plus. Personal terms in place, talks ongoing, optimism for striking deal, other options if needed. PSG still in the race, as The Athletic states, after Fabrizio Romano, of course. So overall, what we can tell from just those two tweets alone is that obviously United have put in the higher bid. United have put in the higher bid in terms of 50 million plus 10 million in add-ons, reaching 60 million. We know that PSG have been interested for a while. They've been keeping this situation on their radar, but they're prepared to walk away. Now, the interesting thing obviously is that we know PSG have been after a striker. We know that this Kylian Mbappe situation has been ongoing and dragging, and we mentioned it briefly in this video alone, but we talked about it before in previous videos and live streams. We know that PSG are after a striker. We know they've been linked with Victor Osimhen in the past, as well as Dusan Vlahovic. Rasmus Hojlund could be the next in line to be linked with a move to PSG because it makes sense, and of course they are after a striker. If they're prepared to walk away, I would expect them to walk away. I don't think Atalanta are going to accept this bid. I think actually, breaking news on this, according to Fabrice Hawkins, PSG and Rasmus Hojlund have reached an agreement on personal terms. So whilst Ornstein said that positive talks were ongoing in terms of personal terms between both the player and the club, PSG have seemingly properly entered the race and have agreed personal terms. So is this a bit of a worry for Manchester United? The interesting part is where Ornstein says that PSG will be willing to walk away if obviously they feel a bid is unrealistic. Atalanta wants 70 million. Neither United or PSG seem to be willing to go that high. I'm intrigued by this. I am very much intrigued by this. I still think United will get the deal done because I think out of the two, United may offer something better. I think when you look at, if you were to step back and look at the bigger picture, yeah, maybe PSG could offer you more money. But I think United would be a perfect choice for him. And I've said it time and time again, I think he'd be the perfect fit for United, and I think United would be the perfect fit for him. I've said it's a gamble to throw him in there straight away, and I stand by that. I think it still is a gamble to throw this kid in straight away at United, and I think it may take him maybe a year or two to really get to grips with what Ten Hag wants from him, what it takes to be a United player, and obviously to grow into that role as a 20-year-old that is still relatively young and is going to have the limelight thrown on him, not just because of his price tag, but because of also going to Manchester United, as you tend to do whenever you go to one of these big teams, and of course go there for a lot of money, of course. He's got that to contend with, and I think it might be a bit of a struggle for him over the first year or two, but I think once he grows into it, I think he'll be a very good fit for United. I've said time and time again, I like what this guy brings. I haven't watched him a hell of a lot. I've watched him in little bits and pieces, and I've had to do a lot more research and obviously take on board what I've heard and what I've read on this guy to really grasp why United and PSG are in full pursuit of this guy. But he does seem like he's going to be a player to watch for the here and now and for the future as well. Like, this guy is intelligent in terms of his positioning. He's very smart in terms of his movement, in terms of his positioning, in terms of getting in the right areas. Very smart in that aspect. He's got a lot of work ahead of him. He's still very rough around the edges, but you'd expect that from a 20-year-old, especially from being a striker. Needs to work on his composure a little bit, but he's got a little bit of everything about him. He's strong, he's quick, he's two-footed, he's got a bit of flair about him, a bit of trickery, a bit of speed, like I say. He's got a bit of everything about him that will terrify defenses. And if he can, like I say, harness that, and if he can work on those aspects, bear with me. I'll come back to that in a second. So if he can harness those, and if he can work on them, and if he can file down those rough edges, I would say that this is going to be a perfect fit for whoever buys him. I think for PSG, I think Luis Enrique is going to love to sink his teeth into him and try and mold him into being PSG's starting forward. I think it would be a great fit for PSG going forward. Again, it's not the flashiest name, it's not the shiniest name out there, but it could be a sign that PSG maybe are thinking about their transfer policy a bit more than just going out there and buying the biggest and best name. Maybe it's more about what's going to be right for the team, what's going to be right for the style of play, right for the tactics of the manager, all of that stuff. Maybe that is a sign that is going to be the case. For Man United, I'm not going to say he's the final piece in the jigsaw, but he is going to be a big part of that jigsaw in terms of Erik ten Hag's rebuild. And you saw last season that they were lacking a clinical striker. You saw last season that, they drew and lost games that they could have got points from if they had a striker who was clinical enough, who was prolific enough in front of goal. And I'm not saying Hojlund is going to be that straight away right off the bat, but he can definitely chip in with a few goals here and there that will be better than Martial in terms of his consistency and in terms of his reliability and actually maybe not being injured after every 4 or 5 games. And he can actually strike a ball better than what Weghorst could. So that's already a plus for him as well. But in a year or two's time, like I say, once he's got used to Erik ten Hag's system, once he's got used to playing with the players around him, once he has a better understanding with his teammates in terms of knowing what to do when Fernandes has the ball in comparison to what to do without the ball when Rashford has the ball or when Antony has the ball or so on and so forth, he can definitely fit into this Manchester United team that will get him more chances in front of goal, that will give him the supply he needs to start burying these chances, and maybe, just maybe, he can be a prolific and very good, consistent goal-scoring striker for Manchester United going forward. So if that is going to be the case, then fair play. I always try and be neutral and honest about this as best as possible. Like I said, I don't want United to succeed in any way, shape, or form, but I'll always be consistent. And like I said, I'll always be honest. This, for me, seems to be a very good signing for United. Like I say, I'll maintain the fact that I don't think he's going to hit the ground running, so to speak, but I think he is going to be a solid choice in terms of an acquisition for United if it does come off, or for PSG if that is to be that way. But it will be interesting to see what happens. And obviously with this Harry Kane situation, and it does nicely segue into the next story, but I've got to come to this tweet that has just come out. Obviously with the Harry Kane situation still buzzing around, and with the latest developments this week, maybe, just maybe, the Harry Kane deal isn't off the table completely for Manchester United. Should, of course, Hojlund choose PSG over United. I don't personally see why you necessarily would. For me, PSG is more of a gamble than United. Not in terms of obviously winning league titles and French Cups and everything, but in terms of once you're there, you're pretty much stuck. At least with United, you can maybe move on after like a few years or so if things don't quite pan out as expected. With PSG, it seems like you move there and maybe you don't make the right progression in the Champions League that maybe they promised, or maybe that you thought they would, and then you're kind of stuck there for a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see how this Hojlund situation takes off. But with PSG now, it seems that personal terms are agreed with the player. It's all about whether a fee can be agreed or not. I'd still put United in pole position and in driving seat. But we'll obviously have to wait and see how this one develops. Thing that kind of put me off there a little bit during that story was the fact that I was talking about how Liverpool hadn't put out some sort of goodbye post or sort of goodbye video for Jordan Henderson. Well, in typical fashion, I say something and then they go ahead and do it. They've confirmed that Jordan Henderson has completed his move to Al Ettifaq and have done a goodbye post and a goodbye video on YouTube. They said that we can confirm Jordan Henderson has completed a transfer to Al Ettifaq as his Anfield chapter now comes to a close. Everyone at the club wishes to place on record their thanks and gratitude for everything Jordan did for us during his 12 years as a Red. And then go on to write a statement about it. And of course, there is a video as well, which I'll probably be watching once I come off this and come off a live video of this. So yeah, all done and dusted. Like I say, good luck to Jordan. Good luck to him out there in Saudi Arabia. Thank you for everything and all the memories and everything that obviously he has helped provide Liverpool fans over the years. Absolutely incredible what he's been through, how he started, where he's finished. I think he's going to be a big miss. I think he's going to be a big miss across at least the initial first season for the Reds. Like I say, I think he's been a player that has come through so much. I think he's been unfairly criticised at times. I think at times he has been fairly criticised. So, I think he's been through a hell of a lot. It's been a bit of a yo-yo. It's been a bit of a crazy past 12 years or so. But this is what he wants. This is what he wants. And it's going to set him up perfectly. It's going to set him and his family up perfectly for post-retirement and whatever they want to do after that. So, yeah, it's it is what it is as far as he's concerned. Right, I mentioned Harry Kane there. We're going to talk about Harry Kane because obviously it segued in from the Rasmus Hojlund thing. A few days ago, it emerged that Tottenham, the owners of Tottenham, had told Daniel Levy that they need to sell Harry Kane. Harry Kane is in need to be sold because they don't want a prized asset leaving the club for nothing. On some level, you would expect Daniel Levy, who is a smart businessman, like he's not a stupid, he's not an idiot. He's a smart businessman. He may not know anything about football, but he is a very smart businessman. You would know on some level that Daniel Levy would have known to have sold Harry Kane for something rather than nothing. But when the club comes out and says this, it does seem that it's putting more pressure on Daniel Levy to sell. It's putting more on it's putting more of the buying club in the driving seat to obviously go ahead and make an offer. We do seem to be maybe edging closer to a resolution to this very long, very drawn out process that is this Harry Kane situation. Like I say, we obviously know the story. We know that Bayern Munich have been interested. We know that Manchester United have also held interest, and they're still lingering in the background a little bit. And you wouldn't be surprised if obviously that interest does reignite itself now that this news has come about. And depending obviously on what happens with Rasmus Hojlund, of course, maybe, just maybe, there is still something to that potential deal. Like I say, it puts more onus on the club to sell. And it puts more of an emphasis on the buying club that they still hold all the cards in this. And then, of course, it comes out in the past couple of days or so that Joe Lewis, the owner of Tottenham, has been arrested for insider trading, which I believe is some sort of federal offence or a genuine federal offence. And if he's found guilty, it could have massive ramifications to his investments, to what he owns, to what he's a part of, and to everything along those lines. How far that goes, obviously, only time will tell. That's obviously still in the early stages of being found out and discussed. But it is all interesting, isn't it? That all this comes around, all of that happens. And then, of course, the circus at Tottenham continues. It wasn't so long ago we were talking about Fabio Paratici. Now, I know that is slightly separate in terms of breaking footballing laws and breaking regular state laws. Slightly different in that aspect. But it's still breaking laws. It's still offences caused. And caught in the middle of it is one Daniel Levy. He must have known, surely. He is Joe Lewis's right-hand man. He's worked closely with him. He's worked closely with Paratici as well during his stay with Spurs. He must have known, surely. And if there is to be known, what would that mean for Levy if he was to be found knowing the situation, being maybe a part of the situation? If this links back to Tottenham and Daniel Levy, this could be awkward. Now, the Premier League have seemingly stated that they don't think it is going to be the case. But obviously, we don't know for sure yet. So it makes it interesting in that regard. It makes it interesting to see what will happen there, if obviously the Spurs ownership will change, or if anything is going to happen with the Spurs ownership in the aftermath of this. But in terms of the Harry Kane thing, like I say, the owners come out and say to Daniel Levy that they need to sell Kane. If he's not going to sign a new contract, you need to sell Kane. That puts more incentive towards Bayern Munich. That puts more incentive towards any other buying club or potential buying club to obviously have the ball firmly in their court, because if they're looking to sell and he's only got 1 year left on his contract, they're going to take any money that they can get for him. We may be heading towards a resolution towards this long drawn out saga. And, you know, I, for one, I'm bored of talking about Harry Kane to an extent, but also I'm intrigued as to know what will happen in the future and how this will end, how this situation will end. What will Spurs do with that money? It remains to be seen. If Harry Kane does go to Bayern Munich, in my opinion, that ties up the Bundesliga title before a ball is even kicked this season. I think it makes them stronger in the Champions League again. and it's a massive improvement, a massive reinforcement coming in from Tottenham to Munich, as far as what Thomas Tuchel's side are concerned. If Manchester United are to come back in for him, if they are to drop their interest in Hojlund, if Hojlund is to maybe to go to PSG and they turn their attention back to Harry Kane, in my opinion, that is a massive signing by Manchester United, an even more perfect signing than what Hojlund would be, in my opinion, because Kane is more for the here and now. And I reckon that if United can maybe get a couple more faces through the door at Old Trafford this summer, title contenders certainly isn't that far away. I still have a couple of reservations and doubts about maybe the midfield area, but Kane coming in, perhaps. Amrabat coming in, perhaps. Maybe a defender. United being title contenders, it could potentially happen. It very much could potentially happen. So do keep your eyes on Manchester United. Do keep your eyes on Harry Kane. Of course, a lot can happen in this transfer window. We are only a few weeks away from the beginning of the season. We are over a month away from obviously from obviously the transfer window closing. I couldn't even remember what I was going to say then. So yeah, a lot to think about, a lot to look at, and a lot to analyze, and a lot to discuss in terms of that aspect. But of course, Harry Kane definitely is going to be the one to watch going forward. Couple of quick transfers just to touch upon. PSG want more than 30 million euro fee as condition to give final green light and as to let Marco Verratti leave to Saudi Arabia. Negotiations are ongoing, according to Fabrizio Romano. Verratti is the latest in a long line of players to be linked with a move away to Saudi Arabia, and it does seem that his move could be reaching a conclusion. Verratti could be on his way to Saudi Arabia, and again, it could be another big move for Saudi Arabia. A player that's got a bit of a reputation in Europe, a player that's obviously made a name for himself at PSG these past several years. A player who is 30 years of age. So again, he's got a wealth of experience behind him. And of course, can fetch in a bit of a fee for PSG that maybe could be used towards Hojlund. Who knows? But that move is seemingly edging ever closer. There's also Robert Lewandowski. Now, this move seems to be pretty dead, shall we say. Allegedly, Saudi Arabia are interested in Lewandowski. Al Hilal in particular have been monitoring Lewandowski throughout the summer, allegedly. But allegedly, Lewandowski has no intention of leaving for Saudi going forward. So, whether or not that remains true or not, whether or not money talks or not to Lewandowski, we'll have to wait and see on that one. But it does seem pretty open and shut, that one, that he seems to have unfinished business with Barcelona, particularly in the Champions League, which, is showing a lot of ambition in terms of where he wants to play the remainder of his football. Obviously, he very well could go on and take a massive payday out in Saudi Arabia to end his career on. But he seems to be happy at Barcelona. He seems to want to play in Barcelona, and he wants to obviously help them to maybe win the Champions League for the first time in what would be coming up to 9 years now. It'll be 9 years as of next year. So obviously, big things. Obviously, big statement by Lewandowski, if that is to be the case. And it seems that Saudi Arabia maybe have found one player at least that maybe money couldn't buy. So we'll wait and see on that one if obviously anything does materialize there. But obviously, things just to keep your eyes on in terms of Lewandowski, that aspect of things, and of course, things going forward with other players such as your Harry Kanes, your Rasmus Hojlunds, your Fabinhos, etc., etc., etc. But without further ado, we're going to call it there. Those have been the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it. This guy, I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of any of the stories that I talked about? What are your own thoughts, your comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, on any of the stories that I talked about, or anything that you guys want to talk about for a future live stream or video? I'd love to read them all down below in the comment section. I'm sure they'll all make for interesting and great reading. Otherwise, hit that like button on the way up, enjoy the video, subscribe if you're new and want to see more content like this. Both things are always very greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another all new news live stream. And I will see you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever the hell it will be. Cheers, guys. Have a good day. See you soon.